You often hear baby boomers say, "We had the best music." Truth be told, I probably said it myself. In fact, I know I've said it myself. And being a boomer, I think that's true. But I also think most generations feel the same way. Most generations feel they had the best music. It's an opinion, as it should be. Now, I'm no audiophile, and I'm certainly not a music historian or anything like that. I'm strictly a consumer of music. And to be perfectly honest, I'm probably mostly a top 40 consumer of music. Back in the day, I collected 45s, not albums, if that tells you anything. If you're looking for an audiophile or somebody with a deep knowledge of music history and that, check out my friend Big Tim. I'll put a link to his channel down in the description. Check him out. So, what do you claim as your era of music? I always kind of figured that my era of music was from the late 60s into the 70s. But lately I've been thinking more about it and I've expanded it a little bit. I think I started a little earlier than that. I usually like to sit in the sun when it's a nice day, and I usually have some music going. Lately I've been listening to Sirius Radio, and they've got a station there from the 60s, and it's early 60s. A lot of it is early 60s, and I find myself really caught up in the early 60s music. You know, the Brenda Lee, the Del Shannon, Bobby Darin, that stuff. That brings back a lot of great memories listening to that music. But those are grade school memories. Here in the US, grade school is like kindergarten to eighth grade, which is 5 to 13 or 14, something like that. A lot of fond memories, a lot of fond musical memories from that time. I'm sure you remember Connie Francis. How about Bruce Chanel? Hey Baby. Remember that one? I used to call up girls in my class and play that over the phone for them. Hey baby, you want to be my girl? That's a pretty cringy moment, isn't it? My my grade school was Horseman Elementary, and they had dances. I don't remember if they were. I don't think they were once a week. Was it once a month? Every couple of weeks? I don't remember how frequently they were, but they had dances in the school gym. And the boys would line up on one side and the girls would line up on the other side, and the music would start and you'd walk across and dance to whatever. That was the time of the twist, and those were good days. Those were good days. I would always slow walk across the dance floor to pick my partner Hazel. Hazel Havorka was my girlfriend at the time, and it was like a dare of to anyone else to try and dance with her before I got there. Another cringe moment. Hey, we were kids. What are you gonna do? And I remember they always had a drawing during the dance to give away a record. And I remember one time that I won the peppermint twist in the drawing. So, like I said, this was the early 60s, kind of before the Beatles, kind of the pre Beatles era. Once the Beatles, the British invasion. In the U.S. they call it the British invasion. I don't know if that's a common term around the world or not, but over here they call it the British invasion with the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and all of that particular era. I kind of feel like the music of the 50s was my parents' music. I don't claim that for my music. You know, my parents missed out on the Roaring Twenties. They had the big bands and the crooners. You know, the Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, Mel Torme, and those guys. But the genres kind of overlap a little bit. You know, we had my earliest music memories are old Buddy Holly. I think that was probably late 50s, wasn't it? And then, you know, later on, we kind of got into the folk music a little bit. Remember the Kingston Trio, Chad Mitchell Trio, early Dylan, Bob Dylan. We're talking the early to mid 60s there, kind of overlapping a little bit with the Brenda Lees. You know, Joan Baez, Peter, Paul, and Mary. Of course, the Peter, Paul, and Mary and the Joan Baez, and that kind of feels like my music too. So I'm claiming it. I think my generation, the boomers, kind of claim the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and those as our music. The genres kind of overlap as the popularity ebbs and flows of the different genres. And being from Detroit, and I don't know how it is around the rest of the country or around the rest of the world, but being from Detroit, I kind of claim the Motown era, the soul era for my music too. You know, the Four Tops, the Temptations, the Supremes, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. I love those guys. That's my music. I'm claiming that one too. And then we get into the psychedelic era. I'm claiming that one too. Jefferson Airplane, Grateful Dead, Pink Floyd, Cream. That's my music. That's my generation's music. I'm claiming that one too. There are just so many. And did we really go from the psychedelic era to disco? Tell me that's not true. Now, disco gets a bad rap, but I always liked disco. How can you not like the Bee Gees? How can you not like Donna Summer? You know? ABBA, the Jacksons. Come on. There were really a lot of popular artists in that era for the bad rap that disco gets. And I think my claim to the music kind of ends in the punk era. I was never a big punk fan. Or electronic music. Not my cup of tea. I'll leave that for the who would that be? The Xers, the Millennials? They can have that one. But up until that, I'm claiming everything up to that for my generation. That's our music. You can listen to it if you want to, but it's our music. And I think the punk electronic era is when I started listening to the oldies stations. And I think there was popular music that kind of transcended genre, or maybe a more universal kind of music. The easy listening, the soft rock, you know, the Neil Diamonds, the Barry Manilow's, the Barbra Streisands. You know, they were popular, but to me they didn't fit into one of the, what do you call it, the extreme genres. I don't know, however you want to categorize that. But they were popular throughout. The Jim Croces, the Harry Chapins. You know, they don't really fit into one of the other categories that I was talking about a minute ago. So who gets the claim? The soft rock, the easy listening people. What age group gets to claim that as their music? So then, seems to me that the music that I claim for boomers, at least in my opinion, starts when I first started listening to music back in the early 60s, and it goes through the punk era when I started listening to the oldie stations. I'm claiming all of that for the boomers. Now, I'm a boomer. If you're an Xer, what era do you claim for your music? What groups, what style, what years? Leave it down in the comments. I'd like to hear that. I'm pretty curious. If there's any millennials out there, how about you? What do you claim for your music? Leave it down in the comments. Anyone else out there? Put your music down in the comments. What era do you claim for yours? I'm sure there'll be some overlap in who claims what. But what do you claim any particular groups or artists for your era? Music, the universal language, right? Thanks again for coming by. I appreciate it, as always. And don't forget to check out my friend Big Tim. Plays some really diverse music. Has some great stories. I think you'll enjoy him. Give him a look. I'll put a link to his channel down in the description, and you might be able to find him in the comment section of some of my videos as well. Big Tim. Thanks for coming by. If it's your first time, you're welcome here. If it's not your first time, welcome back. I know you have some thoughts on the music in your life. Please leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I appreciate that too. Peace, joy, and rock and roll, baby.